Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Plugged into History. This is Karen from Middleton Place Foundation, but as you can see, I am not at Middleton Place today. So I'm gonna have some cars drive by me here on the Battery. Here we are for this Let's Talk Tuesday, and we are gonna be learning about our city cousins at the Edmondston-Alston House. Now, if you guys didn't know, the Edmondston-Alston House is a house museum downtown on the Battery. You can see that there are some flowers blooming, and that's the harbor right out there. And here on the Battery, the Edmondsons and the Alstons, well, the Alston family married into the Middleton family, and this house came down in the family, and so it is a house museum that is administered by the Middleton Place Foundation today. Hi Jenny, thanks for watching. So this entire week is going to be about urban plantations, of which the Edmondston-Alston House was one. And so we're going to go now. The ladies who work here wanted me to show you this wide view of the house, which I agree. I think it's very important for you to understand the scale of the place. And so now we're going to go across the street. Good morning, Kathleen. As soon as there are no cars to run me over, we're going to go across the street and we are going to meet Caitlin Smith and Virginia Swift. So here we go. They're going to tell you about this impressive edifice and everything that goes with it. Now, the Edmondston-Alston House is a house museum that you can visit once our social restrictions are lifted and we're back open again. So make sure that you watch our social media and our website for that information. But here we are with Caitlin Smith and Virginia Swift. They are the house manager and the interpretive and volunteer coordinator here at the Edmondston-Alston House. And this Let's Talk Tuesday is going to focus on some aspects of the house today, but we have all week to learn about the Edmondstons and the Alstons. Good morning to everybody that has said hello. Good afternoon, Rod, over in the UK again. All right, ladies, so we've got some viewers, so take it away.
Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us downtown. We are about 15 miles from the Plantation right now. What is it, 25 minute drive? So totally doable in a day when you have your next visit here. And we hope that that's sooner rather than later. But we do want to introduce you to this house. It was built in 1825 by Charles Edmondson, and it was sold to Charles Alston in 1837. So that's how you get the name of the house. The Edmondston-Alston House, the first two owners of the house. As I think I heard Karen mention, it's the Alstons who do marry into the Middletons. So that's the connection there, and sort of why the foundation operates this house museum today. So from looking at the front of the house, it's clearly a very impressive structure. In scale, it's about 6,000 square feet. Its location, we are overlooking Charleston Harbor here. The architectural details, all very impressive, leading any passerby to conclude that the folks who built this were wealthy and successful, and the years in which it was built, the merchants and the planters were the elite of Charleston. So interestingly, the first owner, Edmondson's merchants, the second owner, Alston's planters. So sort of a microcosm of the Charleston economy here. So, but that's really only half of the story. I've been asked to introduce the concept of an urban plantation, and in order to do that, we need to walk back a little bit further to show you that really two separate worlds exist on this same property. So let's
Not
make
an
our way back.
especially large property for that.
No, less than an acre. So when we use the term plantation, we're doing it a little bit liberally because it's not a plantation like Middleton. There are no fields, there are no crops, not not what one typically associates with Plantation.
Sure.
Okay, so within one small-ish property, two worlds exist. And there's sort of an invisible line that is right here at the back of the main house where we're standing. You'll see two buildings. To your right is kitchen, laundry, quarters. To your left, the carriage house. And this area in the center here would have been a workyard. So this would have been the center of life for the enslaved African Americans on this property. One area clearly subordinate to the other, to support the other, and virtually hidden behind the other as well. So we know a little bit about the specific people who were here from slave census records. In 1850, there were 17 people ranging in age from 1 to 80. In 1860, there were 18 people ranging in age from 12 to 78. Those records only indicate age and gender. They don't tell us anything about names. Where we do begin to learn some of the names of the people that were enslaved on this property were in family letters. For instance, in the carriage house, the building to the left, straight back, we know that during the war, 2 men were left here on the property to watch over it when the rest of Charleston was basically abandoned at that point.
And we're talking about the Civil War.
We are talking about the Civil War.
Okay, the American Civil War, so in the 1860s, folks, when the Alstons are here. Yeah.
Their names were Jim and Sam, and the extent to what we know about them, it comes from those letters, so it's not very much, but anytime that we can add names to people and decrease that anonymity helps.
Yeah. So like Middleton Place, National Historic Landmark, the Edmondston-Alston House is really fortunate to have some of these records of named individuals. We are able to restore a little bit of agency there.
Right, absolutely.
So, that's great. But so we're going to talk more about work yards tomorrow, right?
Yep, we've got a guest coming on from the Hayward Washington House.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a conversation with her.
Hi, Heather. I saw you watching earlier. Thanks for joining us.
So we're going to make our way inside. This is the original door to the house when the Edmondsons built it. This would have been the only door, whereas the Alstons added a front door. So we're coming to the parlor here. This likely would have been a place where business was conducted. This wouldn't have been a social space. That all would have been upstairs, which we'll see later in the week. But a public space nonetheless. So I mentioned the first owners were the Edmondsons. Their portraits are right here. This is Charles Edmondson and his wife Mary. They were merchants.
So this is kind of cool, you guys. I don't know if you know, but there is no photography permitted in the Edmondston-Alston House.
Lucky you.
You are getting a virtual tour, a very
exception.
rare thing, yes.
But they lived here year-round they had 11 kids.
Holy cow.
And much earlier than they're depicted in these paintings. These were done probably 20 years after they left this house. They did have to sell it. There was an economic panic in 1837. Edmondson heavily invested in cotton. Prices go way down. He sells it to Charles Alston. His portrait is here. Alston is a member of a rice planting dynasty. They own several plantations. Georgetown area. And he and his wife and their 4 children use this only as a townhome. They're only here during the social season.
And what's the social season?
The winter,
okay.
January, February, race week, end of February is sort of the culmination of that period. So Alston makes several renovations when he acquires the house. Probably most notable are the 3 stories of piazzas. And we're lucky enough to be able to differentiate what the house looked like in the Edmondson era versus the Alston era, because we have this painting here on loan from Yale. It's called View Along the Battery, and the artist is Samuel Bernard.
So as Caitlin is going to talk about this, I want y'all to vote and let me know which of these houses you think is the Edmondston-Alston house. It is pictured in this painting. So, all right, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, that's okay. I feel like I'm going to give it away.
I don't know, we'll give them a few seconds to chime in, and if they don't, then we'll just go ahead and let them know.
Okay, do we have any answers?
Not yet.
Okay.
So as we look at this and, consider these houses here on the Battery and let us know which one you think is the Edmondston-Alston house. And I'll just look up here at we'll come back to the details, I promise, but trust me, when you come to the EA house for a tour, you never get this close to this painting. So again, a rare treat. Taking a look here, and there's lots in this picture that Caitlin is going to help us decipher. 2-story with the blue roof is the vote. The 2-story house with the blue roof. You mean the white one?
This one here?
I think she means the second one.
Okay, well then she's right.
Yay! All right, so we're gonna let Caitlin point out which one is the EA house.
Okay, so whoever said that was indeed right. To an extent, it is the second house from the left. It is white. It's actually 3 stories. You just can't really see the first story where we were standing outside because it's covered in bushes. But I'm not touching the painting.
She's not touching the painting.
The first story is down here. This is actually the second story. And you'll see 3 little Edmondsons on the balcony, or presumably so. And so it is a 3-story house, but it is absolutely white, and it doesn't look like it does today, again, because it's missing that 3rd-story piazza with the Corinthian columns that Alston added upon acquiring the house in 1837. So we're so lucky to have this type of documentation. I mean, this is incredibly rare to have a view like this from 1831. But this painting is not just about our house here. We use it for our interpretive purposes, but it's a glimpse of Charleston at this time. And so what else do we learn about Charleston in 1831? You'll see all the ships in the harbor. Charleston is a major seaport. That's a foundation of their economy. You'll see people along the Battery promenading. This was a place to see and be seen. It was a place to enjoy the sea breezes, to look out over the harbor. This was an expensive address.
Yeah.
And as you look at the figures in the painting, you'll see that there are a mix of white and black people.
And I actually have a little bit of glare, so I'm going to step behind you.
Okay.
There we go.
This is a reminder that at this time, the decades leading up to the war, the Civil War, that is, there was a black majority. And more than 50% of the population here was enslaved. That's not something people usually think about when they think of slavery in the South. They think plantations. But an urban plantation such as this had a huge number back behind the scenes area. This house is not unique in that matter. Most townhouses from this time had a similar setup out back. And to that point, we do see one of those outbuildings associated with this house next door. That wouldn't be the EA House's building, but nonetheless, it's there.
Okay.
Other properties would have had similar setups.
A similar quarters like the one that we just saw outside.
Absolutely. Yep.
And just to reiterate that statistic, everybody, because it's a really important one, the population of Charleston, leading up to the Civil War, is more than 50% people of African descent.
Those numbers are even higher. It's more than 50% enslaved, because you've
More
got to
than
consider
50%
that
enslaved.
you've got a free black population downtown here too, which totally changes the dynamic for those that were enslaved and in an urban area versus on the plantation.
Great. So that's really important, guys. Remember that as we look in these beautiful spaces and we talk about these beautiful houses and the people who occupied them, we aren't just talking about the owners of the place.
Right. We do make an effort in our interpretation to talk about everyone who would have lived and worked on this property, either by choice or not. And it's this mix of population, white and black, free and enslaved, that shapes the fabric and culture of this city at that time.
Absolutely.
So we're going to make our way over to the dining room.
And as we do, folks, don't forget this is a live and interactive stream. So if you have any questions, if you want to clarify anything or want Caitlin and Virginia to clarify anything, just pop your questions right there in the comments. We're here to answer them and hopefully help you guys learn something new. So, all right.
Hi there. So my name is Virginia. Like Karen said earlier, I'm a volunteer and interpretive coordinator here. And I find that the dining room is really where these two worlds collide that we've been talking about. The white family that lived in the main house, as well as the enslaved population that lived out back. Entertaining and dining is sort of where you see all of this collide in many ways. Now, the room we're in right now is considered the family dining room. Typically in Charleston, any kind of formal entertaining when guests were invited over would actually be taking place upstairs on a second level. Also had several advantages for entertaining that made it a more enjoyable experience, a little better ambiance. One is that the streets in these days would be very smelly with horses going by, very littered with trash, not very ideal to sit right next to when it smells as it does.
Do you know, it was interesting too. I was surprised when we walked through and decided how we were going to show this house. It was pretty quiet and there weren't that many cars. Mm-hmm. And of course, as soon as I took the camera out and hit go live, I had a parade of cars going by, and even as we were out here in the driveway, it was quite loud. Mm-hmm. So I know that they didn't have motorized vehicles back then, but horse and carriage, people selling things, people yelling and talking. It would have been really loud down here, I think.
Yeah, and one time I had a professor ask me, you know, we think about history and how it may have looked around Charleston, but have you ever thought of how historic Charleston smelled?
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
So that is really a large reason why the family wanted to entertain on the second floor, why it was customary in Charleston to entertain on the second floor. The street being very smelly, but also that workyard right through the windows that you can see behind us. The workyard would have had livestock roaming around, the privy building being rather smelly, smells from the kitchen wafting out, the laundry's probably hanging out to dry, and the Alstons, of course, wouldn't want to showcase that to their guests. So being upstairs, you're away from those smells. You also get a better cross breeze to cool things off, especially being right here on the water. The wind and the breeze was essential to staying cool and being a little bit more enjoyable there. Now, the family dinners would be taking place down here, but like I said, with guests, all of this would be brought upstairs to the drawing room, which is a more kind of multi-purpose room. Anything could be set up in there. So
all of it, the furniture, the table and chairs?
The furniture as well. And almost everything that you see in this room did belong to the dining table that you see is a mahogany piece from 1810. And it actually expands out, kind of like an accordion. If you'll see, you may be able to zoom in on the legs. It's like an accordion. You can expand it out on the casters, insert 4 more table leaves, and ultimately it seats 22 people.
This is a Duncan Fife? Is
Not
it?
this
Not
table.
this one. Okay. It works the same way as the dump and fife at Middleton Place, though. So same architectural idea.
So we have it really rather condensed right now, but when it's all the way expanded, it would probably go almost into the other room there. So imagine trying to haul this ginormous table up the stairs. It probably took almost every enslaved person that was back there to carry it, I would imagine. And that was just for one evening of entertainment. Not only were they cooking the food that would be served, setting the table, polishing the silver, literally also setting it up as well, which was quite a big undertaking. The silver that you see are pretty much all Alston pieces as well. We have many that are engraved with their family crest and their initials and such. Polishing all of this was another really big task that would have to be done quite frequently.
So there's a similarity, folks, between urban plantation and country plantation. You know, there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of differences, which we've touched on a little bit, but silver needs polished wherever you are. And if you watched our information about silver polishing a few weeks ago at the Middleton Place House Museum, same deal here.
Yeah, it's the same process. And when you consider that it's the same families that live in these townhouses as well as the plantations, their customs are exactly the same. They're dining in the exact same manner, really. So this is quite similar to what you've seen out of Middleton Place in those segments as well. Now, we know that the Alston family cooks were two enslaved men as well, named George and Worley. George and Worley would be preparing the food pretty much going to the market to get produce, get fish, anything that was needed for the day, bringing it back and preparing it all in the detached kitchen house. It was detached for several reasons. One is that after the Great Fire of 1740 in Charleston, the city actually regulated kitchen buildings for fire safety. They said they had to be detached from the main building 18 to 20 feet away. It also had to be made out of brick so that it would isolate a kitchen fire if it were to break out. It wasn't seen as safe to really have a kitchen inside of your home when you were cooking over an open fire. So not only is the kitchen building separated for those practical reasons, but also for the segregation of the house as well, and those two distinct worlds which we've been pointing out here. As the food was prepared, it would be brought through the open-air workyard and into the room that's behind the wall over here called the warming kitchen or the butler's pantry. And you'll see there's sort of that swing that comes in here, giving access for the slaves to serve the table down here for a family affair, or taking up the very narrow slave staircase to the drawing room for entertaining. There's a question.
There is. Kathleen would like for you to please comment on the type of porcelain that we've exhibited here.
So we've got some Ridgeway china here on the table, these three little teacups, the beautiful flowers right inside. At the back, though, a glimpse of our soup tureen. This is Meissen, and it actually belonged to Governor Alston, who resided at the Nathaniel Russell House.
Can I go put that on camera? Yeah, you guys, you got to check this out.
It's got the stag on
Meissen
top.
soup tureen. Check out this thing.
Really intricate little flowers. And our stag on top has a couple little antlers missing, but overall pretty well for the age of it.
Not bad for almost
Super
200,
delicate.
you know?
It's nerve-wracking to move that thing, let me tell you.
That's above my pay grade. When did kitchens get put back into homes?
Well, that's a good question. In Charleston, there are still many kitchen buildings that exist, but really most of them have been connected with a segment that architecturally is called a hyphen. A hyphen really just kind of like in grammar, it connects both fragments of the property, the main house with the kitchen building. And tomorrow when we do a little in-depth segment on kitchen buildings, workyards, you know, the back of the house, you'll see our hyphen and how that's done, and you'll also see the kitchen house at the Hayward Washington House, which is still kind of disconnected as it would have been per the regulations back then. But I'd say most of them have been connected. The kitchen buildings today are really not always used for kitchens, but once better technology developed and they weren't cooking over an open fire all the time, it was considered obviously safe to have a kitchen inside the house.
Sure.
Our hyphen was probably connected in the early 20th century, around the 1920s or 30s. So obviously by then they were cooking over gas and different methods, but open fire is not so safe. So.
And again, if you want to see more of that, learn more about that, you'll just have to come back tomorrow. And if you want to see upstairs of this house, you'll have to come back Friday. And so you just really should come back. And then Thursday, there's a whole special other treat. So you guys are just going to have to come back all week for information about downtown living and urban plantations.
Today was our introduction. Pretty much everything we've touched on we'll go much deeper into with each day.
Yeah, we want to entice you guys to come back. All right, I'm trying to get my time without flipping my camera here. All right, cool. So it's almost 11:30. Does anybody else have any other questions while we're here? I'm just going to take another little spin around the dining room here, show you some lovely things that are generally speaking viewed from afar.
Yeah. We've got the tea set and knife boxes over here. Pretty unique because they telescope up rather than being on a hinge.
Well, tell me about knife boxes in general. Why is that a thing?
Yeah, so these were mainly for storage, but also used for these families that traveled back and forth from the plantation to their main house. You may be able to notice here that there is a lock on the knife box. So securing those up when they would be traveling from the plantation to this house, really wherever the family was, their silver and many of their belongings would be with them.
And so the cutlery is certainly things that are under lock and key. The cutlery is small, it's easy to lose.
Yes.
So the thinking was to keep it under lock and key.
Right, and this fixture that you see on the wall is called a girandole mirror. This was the room's main lighting fixture. There was probably never a chandelier in this room. Again, it was a bit more informal because it was the family dining room. But the convex mirror that you see here magnifies the number of candles that you see in the reflection. So rather than just having the light of 4 candles, it projects 8 times that and really illuminates the whole room. A couple times a year we actually offer candlelight tours. You can see just how magical the house is when it's glowing.
That's cool. What is this creature? What are these creatures?
I've never thought about it before.
They look like dragons or snakes? Eels, maybe? Sea serpents. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sea serpents.
And
There
then
you
at
go.
the top,
And
it's
stag
sort
at
of
the
a
top.
stag.
Well, yeah, we have to match our crazy soup tureen.
I've seen many girandole mirrors that have eagles on the top and birds as well.
That's very distinctly a federal thing, I think. Yeah, the girandoles with the
Lions
eagles.
as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, folks, if you have any further questions, drop them into the comments. I would love to know when your next candlelight tour is. Well, first we have to reopen the house. Christmas is the very best time to visit the house. Yeah, it is. What are the dates of the candlelight tours? Oh my gosh, we're getting so many questions about that. Okay. So everybody has to, first we have to open the house,
Right.
but Caitlin's got info for you.
So we've been doing the candlelight tours coupled with a Madeira tasting for the winter months. It's not so much fun when it's hot to be lighting candles. So probably in October we'll do our first candlelight tour again. We'll do one in October, November. We do a Christmas special event in December, and then another candlelight January into February. So you'll have plenty of time to join us later in the year.
Yeah, a little special event just a couple times a year that you would have the chance to see the house by candlelight, take a self-guided tour, kind of enjoy the ambiance of the house.
And it sounds like those are planned for fall and winter when hopefully the pandemic here is slowing down and hopefully we will be past or not ever have had a second wave. So look to October, November, December, look to January and February, folks. I mean, in the meantime, you know, we're air conditioned now, so you don't have to wait till then. As soon as the house opens, you can come and see it in the daylight. Is that included in the membership to Middleton Place Foundation?
That is a special event, so it's not.
Okay, so visiting the Edmondston-Alston House on a regular day for a tour, a timed tour whenever the house reopens, is included.
It is.
But the Candlelight tours with the Madeira tastings, the Christmas program, Christmas on the Battery, these are special events. So I believe there's a membership rate. Yeah, there's a discount for members, but those special events are not included in your membership. So you'll get a discount on tickets for that. And I think preferential tickets too, right? Maybe? For Christmas, right. So there's lots of opportunity there if you'd like to support the foundation's work, not just at Middleton Place National Historic Landmark, but here downtown as well. We'd love that support. We appreciate all the support we've already gotten from you all, and that would certainly go a long way to helping us out. And yeah, then you get some access to some special events.
And if you really want to keep up with that and be kind of aware when we post those, go ahead and follow our Instagram, which is at Edmondston-Alston House. We post about all the events there, link to the tickets, and you'll be one of the first to know anyways with your membership newsletter. But
yeah, membership newsletter, you can subscribe online at middletonplace.org. Speaking of Candlelight, are the silver sticks, etc., all English, or was America making silver in the 18th century? So America was making some silver in the 18th century, but I don't think these are 18th, are they? These are 19th century silver, right? Do we know anything about these candlesticks?
So I'm not sure about these specifically, but Charleston had many, many silversmiths. Some of the silver we have in my collection is English. Some of it is even French, actually.
Cool. Let's see if I can get around the bottle of Madeira here.
Yeah.
We hope you'll join us on Friday. We'll be sipping this Madeira. Yeah, okay. Let me go back over here.
And our wine pitcher that we have here actually shows the Alston family crest. You can zoom in on that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
The front here, below the spout.
All right, we'll go right back around.
So everyone's probably familiar with the South Carolina flag, the palmetto, with the crescent moon. The Alston crest kind of features a little crescent moon as well there towards the top with a star in the center. And below it, you see the initial CA for Charles Alston.
That's pretty fancy. And of course, Charles Alston probably never touched that picture.
No, probably not, unfortunately. Just simply enjoy the out of it.
Oh, thank you. Sabrina, Digital Middleton Place has commented that you can sign up for the foundation emails right there at that link. So click there and subscribe, and you'll get information about the events at the Edmondston-Alston House, along with a bunch of other stuff. All right, well, make sure that you drop any further comment. Oh, wait, there's another one. What did they use to crack the nuts? Are there nuts on the table that I missed?
So there's nuts.
Oh, there are.
In the center.
Yeah, in the apron.
Pretty much a nutcracker like we have today.
There you go. Some tech doesn't change from the 19th century to the 21st. Nutcrackers are nutcrackers. They found a way that worked.
Yeah. We don't have any on display, but these inventories left from back then have just massive lists of different tools, especially in the Victorian era. They had tools for everything, glasses for everything, silverware for everything.
Oh, it's kind of like right now. They have kitchen gadgets for every little thing.
There's an app for everything.
There's an app for that. That's right. Great. Well, ladies, thank you so much. Okay. So I'm going to say it again, and then another comment is going to come in. But if you have more questions and more comments for these ladies, please do drop them in the comment section, even after the broadcast, because we will forward the questions to our historians here and get the answers that you are seeking. And we really do encourage you to come back tomorrow for On the Farm Wednesday. We are going to be talking more about urban plantations and the workyards with Heather Rivet, the House Museums manager for the Charleston Museum. She'll be at the Hayward Washington House. Thursday, Virginia has done a little cooking show for us, and we're going to learn how to make an Alston family favorite recipe. And then Friday, I'm going to come out from behind the camera, and these ladies are going to take us on a quick short tour upstairs, because they talked about upstairs a lot, so you have to come back if you wish to be entertained upstairs. Come back on Friday evening at 5 p.m., and then we'll all go and sit on the piazza. Really, we'll take one for the team. It's a hardship. And drink and talk about Madeira with you for History Unplugged. So it's going to be a great week downtown. This is not the only time that we will be visiting the Edmondston-Alston House here in downtown Charleston. So this is just our first glimpse, and so we look forward to seeing you all back again. Arlena, hi. Who's filming you? My name is Karen, and I'm the Director of Engagement at the Middleton Place Foundation. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. She says hi and bravo to you ladies, and she misses you. Wonderful. Hi, Arlena. Thanks for watching. All right, everybody. So drop your questions in the comments section, and we will see you for the rest of this week here with the Edmondston-Alston House and the Charleston Museum talking about urban plantations. Thank you so, so much for your support. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.